The Pittsburgh Steelers are headed to Dublin, but before the wheels even leave the runway, there's a storm brewing over on the south side, and it's not the weather. It's the state of this defense, the injuries, the inconsistencies, and the question marks that keep piling up. Let's start with some of the news coming out of practice. The defense might finally be getting some reinforcements. DeShaun Elliott and Joey Porter Jr. were back on the field as limited participants. And while that limited label might not sound promising, the most important word in that sentence is participants. They were out there. They were moving. They were back in a mix. And when you look at how much this defense has struggled, any sign of help is a big deal. Elliott's been sidelined since the opener with a knee injury. Porter's been dealing with a hamstring. And then there's Patrick Queen, who somehow keeps playing through what sounds like cracked ribs or worse. He's been a warrior, but even he had to be limited this week. Meanwhile, the only confirmed absence for this weekend is Alex Highsmith, and that's going to hurt. This unit hasn't exactly been lighting it up, and without Highsmith rushing off the edge, that pain could get a lot worse before it gets better. Now here's the thing, and this has been flying under the radar for far too long. This defense has been just as much of a problem as the offense. It's just not getting talked about in the same way. Maybe because it's easier to point fingers at a stalled offense. Maybe because fans connect more with scoring plays and highlight reels than defensive formations and missed tackles. But this defense has been leaking yardage all over the field. We're talking about giving up over 380 yards per game, fifth worst in the entire NFL. That's not just bad. That's bottom of the barrel bad. And even when they do force turnovers, like those 4 in Foxborough, it still doesn't change the fact that this group has a serious identity crisis. The numbers are painful. Dead last in third and fourth down conversion defense. 34 missed tackles. That's the second most in the league. And those missed tackles aren't just whiffs on the outside or the result of playing high-octane offenses. They're happening in the heart of the field, in the places where DeShaun Elliott was supposed to be making his presence felt. And maybe, just maybe, he'll be back this weekend to start fixing that problem. And Joey Porter Jr.? His absence might have flown under the radar, but it's a bigger deal than most fans realize. Earlier in the year, at St. Vincent College, the Steelers were experimenting with using him in ways we hadn't seen before. They had him pressing closer to the line of scrimmage, coming in off the edge, making things happen behind the line, disrupting plays before they could develop. That's not what people expected from him. Coming out of Penn State, the book on Joey was clear: physical, great length, solid coverage, but not interested in getting dirty in the run game. Tackling was a question mark, maybe even a red flag. But in camp, that narrative got flipped. He was proving people wrong. And that version of Porter, the one who wasn't afraid to hit, was supposed to be part of the Steelers' secret sauce. The unexpected, the element of surprise, the defense's version of misdirection. Instead, he's been out, and the Steelers have become painfully predictable. That's what separates them from a team like the Vikings, who just happen to be led by one of Pittsburgh's former top defensive minds, Brian Flores. Say what you want about Minnesota, but their defense under Flores is unpredictable, chaotic in the best way. They line up in one look and then completely change the play post-snap. They mess with your head. They make quarterbacks second-guess. Aaron Rodgers even gave them a nod this week, pointing out how Minnesota disguises better than just about anyone in the league. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh is lining up with a neon sign saying, "Here's exactly what we're doing." That's not just on the players. That's on coaching. That's on Mike Tomlin. That's on Terrell Austin. The lack of creativity, the absence of adjustments, the complete transparency of this defense, it all adds up. And the injuries have only made it worse. When Elliott's off the field, it's not just that his tackling is missed, though it absolutely is, considering he set the next-gen stats record for tackling efficiency last season. It's that everyone else starts getting shuffled around. Players are asked to do more, to cover positions they're not familiar with, to compensate. And when that happens, it breaks down fast. It's like a domino effect. You plug one hole, and another one opens up. And the middle of the field has been the biggest crater of all. Every quarterback knows that's where to go when Elliott isn't patrolling. It's too easy. That's where completions are living. That's where drives are being extended. And that's where games are being lost. It's not just about stats. It's about feel. And right now, this defense just feels off. Disconnected. Disorganized. It's not supposed to be this way. This is a team that's invested draft capital, free agent money, and coaching resources into building something tough, aggressive, and smart on that side of the ball. But what we're seeing, it's not close. Now, there's a strategic conversation happening behind closed doors. With the bye week coming up right after the game in Dublin, the coaching staff has to decide whether it's worth playing guys like Porter and Elliott now, knowing they could get nearly 2 full weeks to rest if they just sit this one out. But here's the problem with that logic. This defense doesn't have the luxury of patience. This isn't a normal situation. Things aren't under control. They need to get this figured out, and they need to do it immediately. There's no cushion here. The division is tight. The AFC is stacked. And the margin for error is thinner than ever. The defense doesn't have time to ease guys back in. They need them. They need Joey's aggression and unpredictability. They need Elliott's sure tackling and middle field presence. They need an identity. Right now, they're just 11 guys wearing the same jersey. And that's not going to cut it. So as the Steelers pack up and head to Ireland, they're not just bringing helmets and shoulder pads. They're bringing problems. Problems that won't get solved by crossing the Atlantic. Problems that will be waiting at kickoff. This defense has talent. It has pieces. But without cohesion, without leadership, and without adjustments, it's just potential waiting to burn out. If the defense is drowning in confusion and missed assignments, the offensive line is floating in a sea of disappointment. And here's where things get even more frustrating for Steelers fans. This line was supposed to be better. It was built to be better. The front office went out and spent draft picks. They threw money at free agents. They made it clear that fixing the trenches was a priority. Yet here we are, watching the same breakdowns, the same lack of push, the same fundamental flaws that have haunted this team for years. And it begs the question, if the talent is there, what exactly is going wrong? That brings us to PALMER, the offensive line coach who's starting to feel the pressure, even if no one at the top wants to say out loud. When you look at the group he's been handed, 2 first-round picks, a big-money free agent, a second-rounder at center, and a veteran presence anchoring the interior, it's hard to defend the results. This isn't a bunch of late-round long shots and practice squad hopefuls. These are premium investments. And yet, the unit looks like it's still stuck in year 1 of rebuild. There's no rhythm, no chemistry, no real progress. Take Broderick Jones, for example. This is a guy the Steelers traded up to get. A raw talent, yes, but someone with sky-high upside. We're now deep into year 3, and he still looks like a project. The traits are there. He's athletic, he's physical, he flashes potential. But where's the polish? Where's the next step? It's one thing for a rookie to take time, but when the years pass and the same issues persist, you start asking tough questions about coaching. And it's not just Jones. Dan Moore Jr., who just got paid in free agency, was supposed to take that next leap. But has he? Really? Has he looked like a guy who earned his second contract because of growth and dominance on the field, or has he looked like someone who benefited from timing and market inflation? The tape doesn't lie, and the truth is hard to ignore. Moore hasn't become a top-tier tackle. Not in Pittsburgh. Not in Nashville. He's a starter, sure, but he's not the kind of foundational piece you build around. So what exactly is Meyer doing? Because when you evaluate a position coach, the baseline metric is improvement. Are your players getting better under your watch? Are you developing talent? Are you taking what the front office gives you and turning it into something stronger, something smarter, something tougher? In Meyer's case, the answer leans closer to no. The offensive line doesn't look more cohesive. The individual players don't look significantly better. And there's no identity, no signature to the way they block, no philosophy that you can point to and say, that's what this unit stands for. Compare that to when Mike Munchak was here. That guy didn't just coach a line. He built one. He brought guys together. He molded them into a unit that was feared across the league. And more importantly, his players swore by him. They credited him, publicly and privately, for elevating their game. From Marquise Pouncey to Alejandro Villanueva, you heard it over and over. Munchak made us better. And that's not nostalgia talking. That's the standard. That's what great coaching looks like. That's what's missing now. So when you look at Meyer in this group, it's fair to be critical. It's fair to wonder why there hasn't been a breakthrough. Even Aaron Rodgers, in a brief comment this past week, mentioned Meyer almost as a side note while talking about Seattle's pass rush. It wasn't praise. It wasn't a dig either. It was just there, flat, passive. And that kind of reaction, or lack thereof, speaks volumes. Because when a coach is truly making an impact, people notice. They talk about it. Opponents prepare for it. You can feel it. Right now, the only thing you feel watching the Steelers' offensive line is uncertainty. There's no dominance at the point of attack. No ability to impose their will. And the worst part is, the problems don't seem like they're getting fixed. At some point, development has to kick in. At some point, these players have to take the next step. And if that's not happening, then someone has to be held accountable. The Steelers haven't been shy about investing in the offensive line. Let's look at it from left to right. A first-round pick they aggressively traded up for. A free agent making more than $7 million per year. A second-round pick at center. A fourth-rounder at right guard. And another first-rounder at right tackle. That's not a slap-together job. That's not hoping for a miracle from a bunch of undrafted guys. That's a full rebuild. A premium-level overhaul. And yet, the results have been wildly underwhelming. And it's not just the new guys. Look back at recent history. Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green, Dan Moore, drafted, developed, and now either gone or struggling. Only one or two of them even came close to showing flashes of real potential. And even those were short-lived. The rest? Gone up in smoke. It's a pattern. And patterns mean something. They tell you this isn't about bad luck or the occasional whiff in the draft. It's a system issue. It's a coaching issue. Even when you look at someone like Nate Herbig or James Daniels, veterans brought in to stabilize the interior, it's hard to say they've made a major impact. They've had moments, sure. Every lineman does. But consistent dominance? Leadership? Setting a tone in the trenches? That hasn't really been there. They're good players. Not great. And good isn't enough when you're supposed to be building the wall that protects your franchise quarterback and sets the tone for the run game. It all circles back to Meyer. His job is development. His job is execution. And so far, both have been lacking. The offense doesn't get rolling because the line doesn't get pushed. The quarterback doesn't settle because the pocket collapses too fast. The running backs don't find lanes because the holes aren't there. This is how entire game plans fall apart. And when it happens week after week, year after year, the fingers stop pointing at the players. They start pointing at the coach. But here's the part that really stings for fans. Nothing's changing. Meyer's not on the hot seat publicly. No one inside the building seems ready to make a move. And that's where frustration boils over. Because while this team talks about urgency, they don't always act like it. While they invest in players, they're not investing in the coaching that brings it all together. And that contradiction is becoming impossible to ignore. This is a team that wants to contend, that expects to compete every single season, that holds itself to the standard of being one of the league's best. But when you're putting all your resources into the offensive line, premium draft picks, top-dollar contracts, and getting back mediocre results, there's a disconnect. There's a breakdown. And that breakdown starts with coaching. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling around Heinz Field this week that could send the Steelers' offense into an unexpected frenzy. According to sources close to the team, the long-standing void at wide receiver might finally be addressed, with TREY PALMER reportedly signing on in a move that could radically alter the team's offensive playbook. For months, fans have watched anxiously as the Steelers struggled to fill the glaring gap at the WR position. Injuries, inconsistent performances, and a lack of reliable depth have left quarterbacks scrambling and offensive coordinators forced into unimaginative schemes. Enter TREY PALMER, a versatile pass catcher with speed, route-running precision, and the kind of agility that can stretch defenses thin. Insiders suggest that Palmer's potential arrival has already caused playbook discussions behind closed doors to shift dramatically. Sources hint at the introduction of more spread formations, gadget plays, and creative motion concepts that leverage Palmer's explosiveness. The rumor mill is suggesting that the Steelers could be moving away from a run-heavy approach toward a more dynamic, unpredictable aerial attack, a move that could finally ignite a stagnant offense. But as with any sports rumor, the details remain hazy. No official announcement has been made, and team representatives have remained characteristically tight-lipped, refusing to confirm or deny the chatter. Still, the mere prospect of Palmer joining the Steelers has generated a palpable buzz among fans, who have taken to social media to speculate about the plays, formations, and touchdowns that could come from such a signing. Some analysts caution that translating raw talent into team success is never guaranteed, noting that chemistry, quarterback timing, and coaching strategy play critical roles. Yet even skeptics admit that Palmer's skill set fills a glaring hole and provides the kind of flexibility the Steelers desperately need in their passing game. As the offseason heats up and training camp looms, all eyes will be on Pittsburgh to see if these rumors solidify into reality. If TREY Palmer does indeed don the black and gold, the Steelers' offensive identity could shift overnight, and for a team that has long searched for a spark at wide receiver, that's a development worth watching closely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.